One flight a week from the mainland and way more penguins than people. The Falkland Islands were one of the most remote places I've ever been, with some of the best wild animal encounters you could possibly hope for. We spent about half our time on East Falkland, one of the two big islands and the location of the only city. Big in city in quotes there because Stanley is home to only about 2,000 people. The whole Falklands is only about 3,500, and that's over about 4,700 square miles of land, so really remote.
I have an extensive international cat collection.
So remote that the normal way tourists visit is as a stop off from their ship on the way to Antarctica. But you can fly there. There's a grand total of one plane per week from Chile, which just so happened to line up perfectly with my family's dates and the city we found ourselves stuck in. For that story, see my previous video. UK citizens can also arrange a seat on a military transport from England sometimes too, as this is a British territory with a military base. Aside from those seeking the battlefield tourism from the Falklands War in the 80s and said military base, the main draw here is the wildlife and adventure. And so every day we had an outing to some even more remote part of the island, us, a guide, and usually some pretty extreme level of off-roading for multiple hours to get to places where there's even fewer people, if any. It was often just us, alone, as far as the eye can see, and there'd be some crazy wildlife just standing there, doing its thing, right in front of us. To make sure we got to go, we went to the most famous place first, Volunteer Beach. But before we even getting there, we stopped off at another beach on the way, and it's not like there's roads. It's just our guide deciding to drive off into the sand dunes to a place he knows, where we were 100% completely alone, and there's just a bunch of king penguins hanging out. We were pretty tentative at first, didn't want to scare them, but many of them didn't mind us too much, and we ended up sitting right next to them, which was our first introduction to how amazing this trip was going to be as wildlife lovers. Eventually we got going and made it to the main area where there were, let's say, a few more king penguins. This place is special as it's the main king penguin colony.
You're so fat.
Volunteer Beach is also home to many Magellanic penguins. These are the ones that dig burrows and were kind of popping up out of the ground all over the Falklands. And Gentoo penguins too, seen here chilling in a green field with sheep. Not what you normally think of when you think penguins, but Falklands is not covered in ice, and the penguins still love it. There were so many penguins. Okay. There's 1,000 penguins around me. This was our first full day, but check out my next videos to see more wildlife like sea lions and elephant seals.